Hello, this is my TRX-4M, and this is just a wheel of its big brother. Hang on, I'm gonna have to move to the floor. Just a second. This is my new to me, pre-loved, used TRX-4, and you could have one for cheap as well. I've been looking at a TRX-4 for a few years now, since before I got my TRX-4M and started this channel. We will be looking more at this later on in this video, but first I want to talk a little bit about what I did to find this and the steps that you can go through in order to find a good deal on a used car. Or really anything that you want to buy used, and also what to do after you have bought one. I'll take this out and let you enjoy some driving footage while we talk. What to think of before choosing which one to buy. Go in with a plan. What exactly do you want? Drift car? Crawler? Basher? Do you know which size you prefer? You can be even more specific with the brand and the model, but that could also leave you out of a really good deal on a car that you just did not know existed. Do research on the chosen model. What does a new one cost? What's the availability on parts near you? Now that you know what to expect of a new one, check what they normally go for used and set up a budget. Setting a budget and not going over said budget is a good way to not get carried away and buying something you will regret later. Be cool. Don't pick the first one that pops up, unless it's a really good deal. Found one you want? Check pictures for all angles. Body, chassis, suspension, electronics and so on. Buying used is always a gamble. The seller will want to get as much money as possible, and you as the buyer wants to spend as little as possible. Meeting somewhere in the middle, whether you haggle or not, is the happy medium. Some sellers do not like to even discuss the price and can get offended if you ask to lower it, especially if the deal is already good. It might be worth trying, but it also might be worth just accepting the price at a little bit higher than you would want it. If you can, check if the marketplace you are looking at has any type of seller-buyer protection. Some sites have a way to do everything from handling payments to even shipping labels, etc. Which is a really good way to keep both you as the buyer and the seller confident that they will get their money and you will get your product. Stay away from doing deals on the side. Most of the time when a seller suggests that, they are not trying to get away from the site fees, which should be fairly low when talking about $500 or so. They are just trying to get around your protection, having you send the money and then sending you a big box of nothing. Keep yourself protected and use the services you can do to do safe transactions. Let's talk a little bit about batteries. It might seem like a good deal if you get a battery and charge it with the car you buy, right? Because you can just start driving it immediately. And driving is what we want to do. Sure, but it might not be the best idea. In real racing, the most personal item a driver has is his helmet. You shouldn't buy a used helmet because you don't know what has happened to it. A helmet should be replaced whenever it has been basically dropped or been in any kind of accident, because hairline cracks on the inside will render the protection almost useless. But you can't see those cracks. The batteries for an RC car is basically the helmet for a real racing driver. The battery is the one thing that can cause the most damage to your car. Unless you're an awful driver, but that can be fixed with a little bit of practice. A dodgy battery cannot be fixed, and you might not see if the battery is damaged before it is too late. Many listings include batteries, and others sell them on the side in another listing to try to get even more money for them. There is no way to know how a battery was taken care of. Has it spent its full life sitting on zero charge most of the time because it wasn't storage charged after the previous owner drove it? No way to know. You can get some indications as to how that battery has lived its life. If there is a charger included in the listing, search for the manual of the charger and check if it even has a storage charge function. Many of the cheaper ones don't have that function, so you know almost for certain that it was never storage charged. Be protected. Buy a new battery and sleep safe at night. How did I find my TRX-4? I knew I wanted a TRX-4, mainly due to its good reputation. However, they are very expensive in my area and can fetch prices of up to around 900 euros or so. The TRX-4 Sport can go for 700 to 800. So I was looking at alternatives for a long time, but most of them don't make sense due to the availability of parts. Traxxas parts is easy to come by. I have 2 stores within 15 to 20 minute drive where they have spare Traxxas part in stock. Buying anything else is a gamble. If something breaks and you're sitting with a 1 to 2 month delivery time due to having to order parts from China. It seems that on the used market the TRX-4 goes for around 500 euro. And the funny part about this is the spec doesn't matter. Sport, Defender, Bronco, High Trail, they all fetch the same price, with or without battery, charger, extra tires or other accessories. It can vary a little from seller to seller, but it tends to land around 500 euros. I set myself a budget of 550 and I tried to negotiate on a few to get the prices down, but mostly either the seller dropped out or I did after getting more pictures of specific parts. After finding one for 450 euro that just had a few pictures and the description something similar to lightly used, just sitting in storage, I don't need it. I asked the seller for more pictures of the chassis, both top and bottom, which they sent. I decided that with it, how it looked in the pictures, the worst thing was slight surface rust on some bolts. But it had barely any scratches that I could see in the picture and looked pretty much mint. Some dirt could be seen on the tires, and I knew it had at least been run once since they had a picture of it driving in snow, so it was technically in used condition. What to do once you have it? So now that you have it in your hands, you can just start driving, right? Well, yeah, but you should do a few things to help you in not destroying it immediately. The first thing I would recommend is just a normal service. But what do I mean by that? For a crawler like my new TRX-4, it basically means to check over all the gears from the motor in the diffs, etc. Also open up the diffs properly to make sure they are not dry. If they are, add some grease to the gears before you drive it the first time. Also go through how all of the servos are set up so you don't burn them out immediately, or that something has happened to them during shipping. If the tires are not glued to them, it is always a good thing to take them apart and check the condition of the insides. If they have foams, it's always a good idea to check those, since they can get ruined if the tires don't dry out properly after driving in mud or water. After you've gone through and checked up on the condition of all the serviceable parts, you can slap a battery in it and start making sure that all the functions work. If you don't know what functions the car has, try to go through the manual and see what it comes with. If you don't have the manual, many manufacturers actually have the manuals on their support pages. Alternatively, you can find it by just searching on the web for the brand name, model name and manual. Now that you've gone through the car properly and you know that it is in fine condition, it is time to get out there and start driving it. If you have some tips and tricks on what you did to find your used cars, or what you did in order to sell one, for example, feel free to leave a comment. Did I make a good deal?